Just think about it. What happens when a franchise goes 15 years without making the playoffs? The New York Jets are perhaps one of the teams in American sports with the longest playoff drought. Over the past 10 years, they've drafted a quarterback in the top 3 picks twice and gone through 4 head coaches. Then they brought in a legend and lost in 4 snaps. So, as you can see, hope, heartbreak, and renewed hope. This cycle has officially become part of MetLife's DNA. Throughout this video, we're ranking the 10 critical moments in Jets history over the past 10 years that have incredibly and permanently changed the franchise. And our number 1 pick in particular might come as quite a surprise. Before we get to number 10, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because we'll keep bringing you content you'll love all season long. 10. The Le'Veon Bell Risk and the Guess Dark Age. 7 years ago, in 2019, the Jets were determined to build a star-studded roster around Darnold. Le'Veon Bell arrived in New York on a massive 4-year contract. The result, a star who got lost in Adam Gase's offense, and a partnership that ended before 2 full seasons had even passed. Of course, this move didn't just burn through the salary cap. It also became the very symbol of the Jets' sign a big name, then figure it out later culture. And when the Gaz era ended with a 2-14 record, the franchise was effectively back to square one. But let's not forget that low point was essentially the ticket to the Zach Wilson lottery. 9. Trade table for Darnold. Around 2018, the Jets parted with 3 second-round picks to move up to the number 3 pick. Their goal was to land a franchise quarterback. Sam Darnold arrived, and his "I'm seeing ghosts" line practically became a Monday night classic. 3 seasons, 0 playoff appearances. And when Darnold failed, of course, they didn't just lose a player. On top of that, they suffered a significant loss in the reliability of their quarterback evaluation process, and in doing so, opened the door to repeating the same mistake 3 years later. 8. Jamal Adams' departure. In the summer of 2020, All-Pro safety Jamal Adams, the heart of the team, officially took his contract dispute public and was traded to Seattle. In return, they acquired 2 first-round picks. Fans were truly furious that day, but time proved Joe Douglas right. I'd say that draft capital was the foundation of the 2022 Golden Class. And the Adams trade taught the Jets a bitter lesson. Sometimes trading your star can mean buying your future. 7. Zach Wilson, number 2. By 2021, Darnold was gone, and it was time for a new quarterback. The Jets managed to select Zach Wilson from BYU with the number 2 pick. His arm was like a rocket, and his highlights were cinematic. But the NFL, of course, isn't just about highlights. So over the course of 3 seasons, confidence gradually eroded, and voices began to rise in the locker room. The final curtain had fallen. 2 consecutive top 3 quarterback busts. A situation almost unheard of in this league. And this trauma would force the Jets to take much bigger risks in 2023. 6. 2022 draft night. Sauce and Garrett. As the calendar turned to April 2022, the Jets were practically redefining their identity overnight. They selected Sauce Gardner with the number 4 pick, Garrett Wilson with the number 10 pick, and Breece Hall in the 2nd round. Sauce, in particular, went on to win the Rookie of the Year award. For the first time in years, wearing a Jets jersey began to feel like a promise of the future. Of course, this night gave the franchise 2 things in particular: true stars and a dangerous sense of confidence. All we're missing is a quarterback, perhaps. This emerging confidence effectively set the stage for what was to come. 5. Mid-season execution. Saleh fired. 2 years ago in October 2024, with the Jets at 2-3, Woody Johnson began to lose his grip on the situation. Robert Saleh was shown the door mid-season, and weeks later, GM Joe Douglas was also on his way out. We were faced with the official snapshot of an organization in panic mode. As the season ended with a 5-12 record, the Rodgers project had turned into a virtual wreck. This purge proved one thing. There was no plan at the Jets, only hope. And that hope, unfortunately, does not equate to a strategy. 4. Glenn and Moogie, building from scratch. In the first month of 2025, former Lions coordinator Aaron Glenn became head coach, and Darren Mougey became general manager. Rodgers was let go, and Justin Fields took the reins. However, the next 2 years were a complete nightmare. And with a 3-14 record, they became the first team in league history to finish a season without a single interception. And thus, they lost their final 5 games by margins of 23 points or more. Fields was first benched and then traded. Geno Smith was brought in to replace him. Of course, this situation was quite painful, but this time there was one key difference. The dismantling was, for the first time, part of a deliberate plan. 3. Trade deadline. Shocker. Sauce and Quinnen are gone. About 8 months ago on the trade deadline, this is exactly what happened. The Jets were sending Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams in exchange for draft capital. This would bring the Colts' 2026 first-round pick and the Cowboys' second-round pick into the team's coffers. The team's 2 best players, of course, were officially history in the span of an afternoon. We're talking about a move that was truly heartbreaking for the fans. However, Mougey's message was crystal clear. No half measures. It's either total destruction or nothing at all. These trades would thus make the Jets the kings of the 2026 draft. 2. 3 first-round pick. A new foundation. In April 2026, the Jets used their first-round pick in the draft. At number 2, they selected edge rusher David. At number 16, a tight end. And at number 30, wide receiver Mark Cooper Jr. And 3 more first-round picks were waiting in the wings for the following year. Of course, the fruits of this overhaul were reaped that very night. Perhaps Glenn was now the new force in the defense, as seen in the photo. If he succeeded, 2025 would be remembered as the pain, the price of salvation. If not, another lost decade might well follow. 1. 4 snaps. Aaron Rodgers' Achilles. By April 2023, the Jets had managed to acquire 4-time MVP Aaron Rodgers from Green Bay. And New York went wild. The Super Bowl window has officially opened, people were saying. Then, on September 11th, 2023, Monday Night Football at MetLife Stadium, Rodgers took the field with the American flag, and the stands erupted. His Achilles tendon snapped on the 4th snap, and on that very 4th snap, a season, a plan, perhaps a dream. It all came to an end in just 4 snaps. That moment wasn't just an injury, actually. It was the spark that ignited Saleh's firing, Douglas's departure, the 2025 collapse, and perhaps even the team's current state. As a result, the Rodgers era was forced to end on a note of disappointment. And in doing so, it taught the Jets their most costly lesson. There are no shortcuts. If those 4 snaps hadn't happened, who knows? Maybe we'd be talking about a completely different Jets team today. But unfortunately, they did happen. And in doing so, they changed everything forever. Yes. To briefly summarize what I've discussed, the Jets' last 10 years can be described as a story of misguided risks and unfulfilled hopes. But it's also the story of a solid core, and now, a rebuilding effort. Of course, this franchise isn't defined solely by losses. I'd say it's also defined by the tenacity to get back on its feet after every setback. Today, of course, the Jets have a young core, a full draft pool, and a true visionary named Aaron Glenn. I'd like to leave the floor to you now. Be sure to post your own rankings in the comments. Also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Because, as you know in New York, hope never dies. It just gets drafted all over again. See you in the next video.